KTN News.
Marathon was one of the biggest conversations throughout the weekend. Why? Because the person, of course, dubbed the world's greatest marathoner, Eliud Kipchoge, was participating in the marathon, and the expectations were not whether he was going to win, but if he was going to break his own record. Of course, he won, but he did not manage to break the record. So what are some of the conversations regarding how Kipchoge performed yesterday? Let's now have this conversation with the lovely Winfrey Owino. Good morning to you, Winfrey. I expected just congratulations messages to Kipchoge and of course other winners of the Berlin Marathon yesterday, but Kenyans seem to be having a different conversation. The fact that he did not break the record, probably the expectations were too high and they were not met.
Well, Purity, good morning. And just to come into whatever we are talking about this morning, there's a rule of life, and it's always a graph. It goes up and it gets to somewhere. It either goes stagnant or it starts coming down. So basically, this is what Kenyans are making reference to when they're commenting on Eliud Kipchoge's performance at the Berlin Marathon yesterday. So actually, it's not it's not something that's small. It's not a small achievement in the marathon world, because this guy has appeared in this marathon for about 6 times. Actually, it's 6 times, and 5 out of those 6 times he's actually won. It's only one time in 2013 when an Ethiopian called Haile Gebrselassie won, and he was the second. So that's the only time he has lost in this marathon in all the 6 times he has appeared. So it's something that is actually big. But the conversation that's coming out is that yesterday he didn't really do well. For those of us who watched the race from the start to the end, this guy started off so well, and it got to a point he actually gave them a big margin, but towards the end he was getting tired, and we could actually see Vincent Kipchoge, a very young man who this was his first time in this race, actually catching up with him. And it got to a point where those of us who were watching were actually just crossing our finger, let him just win. It was not even about him breaking his own record again. So at this point, Kenyans have reacted. Actually, congratulatory messages came in. People are happy. He did well. He won. Actually, it's the 5th time, and he's the person to have won the most number of titles in that race. He's followed by an Ethiopian, the same Haile Gebrselassie, who has won it 4 times. So it's something that's good. But what's coming up online, people feel like it's time for him to exit the stage. Just to take you back, you see in my village, you have a saying where they say, where you shower is not where you dry up. So there comes a time when there's supposed to be change. So Kenyans feel like it's time for him to actually leave when he's at his peak, so that, he'll be remembered as a great person. Of course, he is a great person. He's the only person who's ever ran a marathon, although it's not like documented as a record, but he's the only person who's ever run a marathon, 42 kilometers under 2 hours. So basically, he's a great person, but Kenyans feel it's time for him to actually exit the stage. And these were not just conversations only online, even on the streets, in the office, anywhere you sit with people in a setting, people were feeling like he won it, but it's time for him to leave. He's getting tired. The age is catching up with him. So Kenyans feel like it's time for him to get into more mentoring and coaching. But all in all, what stood out in the Berlin Marathon was Ethiopia's Asifa. He broke the women's record in the marathon by like 2 minutes, and it's very low. Experts in this marathon field say it will take a very long while before somebody else breaks this record again, sets a new record, Purity.
All right, thank you. Remember, Kipchoge is one man that believes that no human is limited. Probably he wants to run these races until he's even 70.
Definitely.
You never know. So I'm not sure whether the opinions will really matter to him, but
yes,
let's see what his strategy is. Let's now shift our focus to other affairs. I mean, why do we always, in every administration, during the President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration, Winfrey, we had sentiments like President Uhuru is too young to retire, for instance. Right now, just 1 year into the Ruto administration, there are also conversations about, 5 years is a short term for a president to serve and deliver. Where is this coming from?
Purity, honestly speaking, this is now my own opinion, but I feel like somebody's trying to test the waters.
Yeah.
Because last week, Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, presented a memorandum, a proposal to the talks that are happening. And here he was actually proposing that the presidential term limit be extended from the current 5 years to 7 years. The argument, 5 years is too short for a president to actually settle down in the office, form his government, and deliver. Which is it's not actually making sense. If we go this way, we go the Rwanda way. And for Rwanda, we understand their situation. We understand why they have to be that firm in their decisions. They have the 94 genocide, which they would not want to go back to. So for them, it's understandable. But for us, we have a constitution, we have a multi-party system that only allows you to go for 5 years. And you're even lucky to get another extra term to just finish up, do the final touches. But I don't know, purity when it comes to power, it gets into your head, and it gets to a point you don't want to leave. Reminds me of a speech by Salva Kiir during the Africa Climate Summit, where he said, "We'll not leave this power. You will have to remove us by force." He was actually saying that. And this is in the wake of so many coups in Africa. So I think the leadership system in Africa really has to change in terms of people being willing to let go. We should actually emulate countries like the United States, where you serve your 8 years, that's it, somebody else comes in. And that's the only way we can grow as a country.
It's actually 4 years, because you have to seek a re-election.
Definitely. Yeah. When you seek a re-election, you do your 8 and then you go. Yeah. And it's not like a guarantee you'd get your second term.
Yeah.
So I think this is just someone trying to test the waters, although State House and the ruling party have distanced themselves from the proposal. They say they have nothing to do with it. But really, when you look at it, politics is just a game. You have to test the waters, see how the people will react, then withdraw. If they don't react, you push further. So basically, that's what's going on. But it could also be a plan to stall the talks, because we've just listened to the MPs from the ruling party talking there. They're saying these people just want to drink tea, these talks have no meaning. And actually Raila really responded to that yesterday when he said, give them time to do whatever they are doing. But where we sit as Kenyans, we feel like there's nothing actually going on. It's taken 3 months already, nothing tangible has come out of the talks. But anyway, let's just give them time. But for the presidential extension term, it could be someone testing the waters, or it could be just a plan to stall the ongoing talks between the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio Purity.
Absolutely. Yes. And, what analysts and experts are saying, even in regard to the coups that are being experienced in Africa, and part of the reason claims that these presidents, for example, are puppets of the West. They have ruled for a very long time. Yeah. But France has officially finally agreed to withdraw the troop from Niger. Maybe how was this decision arrived at?
Well, yesterday, the French have really been going through a lot, especially under the regime of Emmanuel Macron. There are a lot of protests, there are a lot of coups in the countries they colonized. So he's really faced it. He's really had it rough in his reign. So yesterday he did say that they are considering actually pulling out their ambassador to Niger, and also pulling out their troops from the country. And when he was talking, actually the statement he was saying, he really pities the region, because the region will be taken over by terrorists, and he wish they would. He says he's only there to give in terms of governance and all that, but he cannot make political decisions for Niger. So basically, it's somehow like a surrender. I cannot really say what it is, but it's not official. It's not like he said we are now removing them. He's just said they are considering to do that in the next few months, and this has really elicited mixed reactions online, because people feel like France is finally agreeing to leave some of the regions in Africa. You remember now France actually had plans to use Niger as the hub for that West African region where they actually rule. So it's a whole disorganization for Macron, who was actually working very closely with President Bazoum, who is now under house arrest by the coup leaders. So we don't really know, because initially Macron was using Mali as its hub, official hub for the African region. So now Mali did away with the French rule. They actually removed French as its official language and all that. So many things have been happening in that region, and I think it's time for it's just a signal, and it's a clear sign that it's time for the French to leave these African states purity.
All right, Winfrey, thank you so much. Those are some of the developing stories, of course, from across the continent that we are following up for you, what's happening in Niger. We now take a short commercial break. Don't go too far. News Diary continues in a short while. Stay with us.